I didn't realize. Mouth wrote a check your body can't cash. We can help.
Welcome to Texas A&M Savings Bank. Draw a line of credit you'll never have to pay back, as long as you don't portal out.
Texas A&M Savings Bank, financing unrealized Aggie trash talk since 1939, now selling Bain insurance coverage.
Thank you to everyone who's come on to this unscheduled live reaction to the Canes and the Texas A&M Aggies having an insane game. I'm looking like crap. I don't really care. I wasn't planning on this show, so the lighting's going to suck. Hopefully the sound is okay. You'll see blur behind me because I'm not in my normal spot where I would record this crap. So just give me 1 second and hopefully it will not look like an insane asylum. But I just wanted to talk about this damn game with whoever wants to talk about it, about any topic you want, as the Canes go into College Station as 3-point underdogs. A defensive struggle in many ways, some seriously questionable maybe strategies on both sides, special teams disasters / special teams great plays, depending upon how you want to look at it, glass half full or half empty. Turnovers from one quarterback in particular really mattered in this game, including the final play. Malachi Toney with a fumble and then a recovery. And Mark Fletcher, perhaps the most Hurricane person on the team, OG as it is, Ruben Bain as well, have the game of their lives in one of the biggest moments in the last 23 years in Canes football history. And I just wanted to talk, and I don't really know what I'm going to say because I'm still freaking floored about what we just watched, that we are going on. And yes, I'm in WeZone. This is a National College Football channel, and I have a lot of respect for the Texas A&M Aggies fans who might come in here, but we are born of a Canes world, and today is about the freaking damn Hurricanes and what just happened in College Station, and what just happened to the SEC just means more. And don't disrespect our freaking players because then you get baned. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying, but we're going to enjoy it either way. Gotta love it. Wanna instantly thank Time, F them haters, $99 donation. We're celebrating. Man, oh man, I want to hear everybody's comments. Give me your takes on the game. What were the things that caught you? Do you not even care because you're just in disbelief that that game materialized the way it was, that it went down to the wire, a goal line stand? Corey Heatherman, I don't know how long Miami's going to have you, but I'm going to enjoy every freaking second that you are the defensive coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes. What you pulled off today in College Station is legendary. What our true freshmen on the offensive and defensive side of the ball pulled off today in College Station is going to be legendary. And what Mark Fletcher did today, including especially in the final quarter, is a legendary moment for somebody who deserves everything, who oozes being a Miami Hurricane more than anyone I can remember in the last 15 or 20 years. And there's been some ones who have done that throughout a relatively down period, but I never want to hear anybody say anything about Mark Fletcher again. I don't want to hear anybody say he's slow. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that. There will be no Mark Fletcher hate in my feed ever again. Anyway, definitely appreciate you guys coming. I'm rambling. It's just a freaking party here as far as I'm concerned. I don't have an agenda. I just want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to go through the comments. I've sent out a link to a few people, usual suspects. A lot of them were at watch parties. I don't know if they'll catch up or not, so we'll stay on for a while. The college football playoffs continue right now. And I have it over to the left. If you guys see anything interesting while we're on that's going on in that game, after two extremely close games to kick off the playoff, please drop it in the chat. Don't assume I see it. So let's say hi to a bunch of people. Hurricane Domo, let's freaking go Canes. You Goldwire 8726, and I apologize if I don't recognize screen names. The way YouTube has sort of changed things around is kind of hard. What's up, you family? James Cane's in the house. Go Canes. Instant classic. I call that game an instant classic. It wasn't the prettiest game, but it was wildly entertaining once I finished eating off every part of my fingernails in that game. Hell yes, James Kane. SEC what? What if I told you that after this Ole Miss game with Tulane, which I do expect Ole Miss to win, that I don't think the SEC is going to win another game. Do you think I'm high, or do you think I'm completely right? Let's freaking go. LNV, thanks for joining us. Cybertech Kane, let's freaking go. Fucking go. Who cares? Demonetize us, don't care. Fletcher and the freshman phenoms. Exactly. That's me, so I don't know why I put that up. Using SEC logic. SEC is trash. An 11-1 SEC team loses to an ACC team that didn't even make their conference championship game. Look, Texas A&M's defense played stellar. Carson Beck had a very challenging game. The kicking game was not good for either team. But let's not forget that Texas A&M also beat Notre Dame. And I'm sick of freaking Notre Dame clouding our timelines. Let me reiterate for the 37,000th time as I continue to dunk on that fan base. You're not in our heads. You guys keep crying across social media, and it keeps going into our damn feed, so we have no choice but to see it. But look, there's a lot of narratives here that we could talk about, whether it's the SEC stuff, which we'll see how that all plays out. Miami winning a meaningful game in December, January, as it were, for the first time in really 22 or 23 years. All of the storylines that exist, including what happens next with Miami and Ohio State in a rematch in the postseason. I will remind everyone that Miami and Ohio State did play at the Big House, and I can't remember if there was a game in Miami, regular season game, but clearly it's a whole other level that we got going here. You Gold Wire, hit the like button. Yes, definitely appreciate that for sure. Again, really, it's just me talking to you guys, reacting to any comments, mildly watching the Ole Miss Tulane game on the TV and chopping it up with everyone for a while. We'll love if we have some of our friends come on, but I don't know if they're even sober enough to even click the link correctly to come in here. So, and I'm out here in Los Angeles, and I have to watch the game by myself. I can't go to a bar. I can't watch a watch party, though I jumped into Coop's one for a little while just to see him at halftime. I just need to be able to scream and be a complete idiot by myself. So this is my first chance to get to talk to everybody. James Kane, F the SEC, $1.99. Absolutely appreciate the donation as well. Laughing. Yeah, I'm drunk laughing too. I don't even know what Hurricane Doma was reacting to at the moment that I said it, other than I can go with that. I'm going to assume that it was maybe our Texas A&M commercial from the other day. James Kane is saying the sound is good. Thank you for the check. The video is going to be crap, but the sound should be good. Called the interception. Yeah, you and my wife did, to be honest with you. Love how Tony came back. You know, when that whole fumble came, all I could think of, if you were paying attention to the national reporters over this week, they specifically were talking about, and because Ruben Bain mentioned it as well, a moment when in high school, when Ruben Bain was actually facing off against Malachi Toney, that Ruben Bain covered a fumble that Malachi Toney had, and that was sort of this, and then therefore they lost that game, was the spurring of the crazy work ethic that Malachi Toney now has, where he's the first to get into the facilities, the last to leave. And when that fumble happened, I just like, wow, how could that possibly have happened again? Only for finally a play that Shannon Dawson drew up for Malachi Toney to really finally pay off on the scoring touchdown, and the redemption arc was there. It was unbelievable. Keep talking that shit. I'm definitely keep talking that shit. Talking my rant. Hey, man, we rock, so I'm ranting. And I will never stop dunking on Notre Dame. The one thing I'm glad about the last few weeks is that younger Canes fans and more college football fans in general realize what a trash fan base that is. Most entitled, elitist, whatever. Stop tweeting, stop crying, get out of our timeline. Real boys are playing football right now. Go to your Tears Bowl and get the hell out of my life. Heatherman is the man. David says, congrats to the Canes. Appreciate that. Fletcher got his 4 yards and then some. Fletcher was a man amongst boys. I can't watch football. I'm crying, bro. Why am I not a player? I haven't watched Canes football since the Michael Vick days. I came back and the emotions are too strong. I can't even type right. Look, it's been a desert, you know. We can if you're a Canes fan, or even if you're just a college football fan, it has been a desert. Miami has been basically 7-5 outside of the last couple of years on average for the previous 20 years, but didn't have as many bad back-to-back years. Just a lot of meh, a lot of whatever. Think Bain is back into the first round. Know who else might be playing themselves up? Keontae Scott. Don't think he's going to make it to the first round. But the way he was able to deal with Marcel and not get juked out of his boots and make those tackles and wrap up, I wonder if Keontae Scott's going to be a day 2 pick. Who the hell knows? He did it on the big stage as well. So many people did it on the big stage, despite the fact that it was a way low-scoring game that I never would have expected to that degree. DWB, great game. Go Canes, absolutely. Incorrect because UGA will beat Ole Miss. Actually, I guess that's actually, is it correct? I don't have the bracket memorized, so I could be wrong on that one. I thought that I couldn't remember who Ole Miss went to play next. Sorry, outside of SEC on SEC games. There you go. There's my caveat. Your high Georgia, Miami, OSU rematch loading. Yeah, that's going to be a crazy one. In the Cotton Bowl, if you happen to be a Canes fan and you have put in a ticket request and it got approved, those tickets, by the way, are already in your account. If you didn't know, they had allocated those who have been approved, but you didn't actually have them until today, and the Hurricane ticket office sent those out that your tickets now exist. I believe there's going to be an additional window to order additional tickets. I don't know if Miami sold out their Cotton Bowl allocation or not, but there might be some more additional windows for other games, just in case you're wondering. If not, hit SeatGeek and StubHub. That game is on New Year's Eve. The other 3 games in the semifinal, the quarterfinals, are on New Year's Day. Miami beat OSU last time they played, but playoffs is different. Absolutely. Somebody find that damn referee. Let's get some legal guys after him, put on a plane to Siberia so he's nowhere near. I don't even know if he's alive, but I don't want him to be anywhere near us. Congrats to the Canes from Antoine Johnson. Let's get rid of some spam here. Howell lost some draft status. Yeah, I mean, he was also going up against, and they were moving him around from around the defensive line. I don't know where he was actually on the boards. He wasn't. I did look, I think, Hyper's board, take it for what it's worth, before this. I don't remember him being in the top in the first round. I could have missed that. So if somebody has seen where Cassius Howell was on some of the draft boards heading into this game, drop it in the chat. I'm happy to be corrected. Not looking to dunk on them. A&M is a school I have respect for, but I'm certainly glad that Miami went in there and beat them. Jorge's in the house. Let's go Canes. James, they need to put some respect on CC's name. Absolutely. What a wild, wild day. A&M fans, shout out to how classy you guys are. Look, everyone I know who was there has said nothing but they had a great experience. It's a unique experience for sure. It certainly was loud, but what a tremendous game. A tremendous, tremendous game if you're a Canes fan. I haven't really looked to see what all the national reporters were saying and the coverage after the first half. I know in the first half a lot of people were taking the dunks about how sloppy it was on offense. I would have looked at it more from being a, hey, the defense is pretty good perspective. But yeah, there were certainly some bad calls. Carson Beck did not look quite very good at all. Marcel Reed had moments, but if you would have told me that Miami would go to College Station and Carson Beck would be 14 of 20, fine, but 103 yards, I would never have thought that Miami would have emerged with a victory. But then again, I would not have expected you to tell me that Mark Fletcher was going to run for 172 yards on 17 carries. Marcel Reed, just the latest in the dual threat quarterbacks, the best one I believe we've played, but Miami did play several of those this year, whether it was Kevin Jennings or Byron Brown from USF, but Marcel certainly is on another level, at least in my opinion. But once again, the only thing that was different than most of these games with Heatherman on the defensive side is that instead of the adjustment coming after giving a score on the first drive usually and then a shutdown, the shutdown was basically there the entire time. The amount of goal line stands that Miami did, and of course what will be legendary forever. If you're a Miami Hurricanes fan or you're just a college football fan, you will remember that interception in the end zone to ice the game with O.J. Frederick there. Bryce Fitzgerald with 2 interceptions in this game, the true freshman, just sealing the victory. I thought we were heading for overtime, but I'm still sort of floored. I just almost didn't know what to do with myself, so I figured I'd just come out here and talk to others who might be just looking to go crazy about it. CBS was glazing us after the game. Yeah, if you guys see anything interesting chat-wise or whatever comment-wise, throw it in the chat. We can use that to talk about it. Eddie Delvis says, questionable play call from Coach Dawson to begin the game by going east and west, run the ball into the A-gap. I was saying it. Thank you. Well, they definitely, I would agree. I thought that they were being, Miami went from midseason being too predictable up the A-gap, right? There's literally A-gap forever t-shirt swag out there for the Miami side of life, to being way too horizontal. And Texas A&M is a really good team with one of the best rosters in college football. They have speed too, so I think that was a mistake. I think sprinkling in the Malachi plays and the Wildcat, the Malacat, the pistol were interesting, but there was way too many times that things went, you assume speed, I think. At the end, maybe, you saw what happened at the end, right? When you kept on pounding Fletcher, and Fletcher wasn't really going, at least to my eyes, and half of my mind was being lost because I was just nervous about what was going to happen with the game. They weren't going straight up the center every single time. There were some more cuts. It looked like there were some more off tackles to me. If you think differently, I haven't watched it back. I haven't, did every instant replay. But once they established that completely set up what was an amazing call to win the game with Malachi Toney. That was the right time, and I'll have that as a movie to the day I die. Beck was fine. It was windy as hell. The wind was gusting and changing direction constantly. Look, I agree. There were people saying they should be going downfield more to JoJo after they tried to find him in the beginning. But the ball was sailing for everybody. You saw it on the field goals. Not that it excuses every one of those. The over adjustment there on one of them for the Canes as well. But it was okay. I didn't think he was bad, but he wasn't game changing. He was definitely. I would have liked a little bit more out of even the short passing game considering the win, but fair enough. He's still 14 of 20, but 100 yards, you still expect, your quarterback in that thing to, 150 yards. But we all have a different take on that. Just let me, let's pull up some of the game stats. Malachi Toney only attempted 1 pass. Marcel Reed, he got a bulk of those passing yards in the fourth quarter as they were trying to come back. He finished with 25 for 39, 237, but with 2 INTs. And look, everyone, all of the national coverage was absolutely, and when we did our preview on College Football Express on Wednesday, we definitely focused on the fact that this was probably going to come down to which quarterback turned the ball over less. And yes, eventually Miami had a turnover on the Malachi fumble, but Marcel Reed had the 2 interceptions, and a lot of that probably made a difference in the game overall. So just a completely wild ending to that game. Redemption arc, so many stories. Meanwhile, Ole Miss is up with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter, up 14-3. So that game is kind of going to chalk right there. So I'll have that up in the meantime as well. Let me get that score, that game cast up. Let's switch to that. So yeah, Ole Miss 4th and 7 right now as we watch that game as well. How do you feel going forward about Ohio State and Miami game coming up, especially after such a long break? Well, everyone was talking about, the media as a general thing about, the home field was a big deal. And it certainly, of course, can be a big deal. You'd much rather play at home. But last year was the first year that we had any home playoff games, right? And we also had different seedings going on in the playoffs. So you had things like Boise hosting a game instead of being on the road like they probably would have been this year. So far, the first 2 games, the home team has lost. And Oregon had a problem last year with that long break. Ohio State's a really good team. They're a really disciplined team. I don't put any transitive property between how Miami's offense looked today and what will happen in the Cotton Bowl inside in Jerry's world. Very different situations. Arkansas put a ton of points up on Texas A&M. Miami, Texas A&M was a slugfest. So I need some time to think with it. I don't know if there's an early line out there. I'm going to assume Ohio State's probably going to be a 7-ish point favorite for that game, but it definitely give me a second to think about it. I mean, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't spent a ton of time. Look, I think for Miami, the toughest game you're going to have is Ohio State, right? If you get that, and no disrespect to Indiana, I think, I know Indiana beat Ohio State, but there's just like a different level of demons around, maybe not the players, because most of them weren't even born the last time that nightmare in the Fiesta Bowl happened. But I think that's probably going to be the hardest game, though Miami's bracket after Texas A&M all the way through is, to me, the hardest one by nature, because you had Texas A&M in College Station at Kyle Field with 110,000 people losing their mind, flyovers, everything along those lines. But look, this team, the Miami Hurricanes team, if you can get 90% of that defense that we had today and back to the mid-range of the offensive production against a very formidable defense from Ohio State, anything's possible. I'm not in any way, shape, or form doubting that Miami can beat Ohio State. Just think it'll be hard. I think every game that you're going to have in this side of the playoff is going to be hard, barring some massive upset in the games that we're having tonight that then become additional upsets down the road. Shut down. Wait, it's our friends from We Live for Saturdays in the Big Ten side of the equation, which we'll see how that all stacks up as those games progress later on tonight. We got Oregon making their second playoff appearance, but this time hosting a home game. What's up, Expedition Greg? Appreciate the best of luck versus the Buckeyes. Yeah, got a lot of Buckeyes friends since I started doing all this YouTube stuff. So tomorrow night, in fact, probably the trash talking will begin as I do my regular show with Moen After Dark over in College Football Mafia. Buckeye true and true there, coming from Ohio. So it'll definitely be an interesting 2 weeks, 2 shows before we get to the actual game on New Year's Eve. Love to get your guys' take. What was the thing that most surprised you about the game? What are things you thought would happen that didn't? How are you feeling about the matchup between Ohio State and Miami on New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl? Mohammed's in the house. Extend Mario. Go Canes. Yeah, I think Mario's probably getting a damn extension. I think he's going to probably get one, knowing how many coaches had already received extensions who were in the coaching carousel. And Mario clearly is not going to be a name that goes into the coaching carousel because he's at his alma mater, and I don't really see him going to the NFL. I think he's a Canes coach for life until he either somehow gets let go for some reason or decides he wants to not be there anymore. But seeing what some people are playing, Mario's contract has certainly gone down a lot in relative value in terms of the top echelon coaches. And now that you have a college football playoff appearance at your home school after a 23-year gap, and now a victory on the road against a just means more SEC opponent, plus you're recruiting at a high level, I would be utterly stunned if we do not hear, without hearing the terms, about an extension for Mario Cristobal coming once this playoff run wraps over. And Mohammed is definitely one of the biggest champions of Mario Cristobal, has been for a while, has been very consistent in that. I've had more questions about him. I've never been on the fire Mario standpoint, and I'm glad he came back. But Mohammed has been a true believer and a true supporter from the beginning. Give him a lifetime contract. He's deserving. I don't think anybody deserves a lifetime contract, to be clear. I think that's not necessary. You can just periodically essentially do the same thing for somebody that's doing it, but everybody eventually hits the moment when it's time for them to go. I have a feeling that Mario would know that moment himself and would step off of the stage. Not exactly the same, but maybe similarly to Kyle Whittingham leaving Utah. A different situation, not a former player. And I don't know if Mario would go somewhere else where it seems like maybe Kyle Whittingham is open to doing that. I think that Kyle Whittingham is more similar to the whole Jimbo Fisher, Bobby Bowden situation at FSU, where he didn't want to become the next Bobby Bowden. They've had a coach in waiting. He didn't want to extend his, be there 1 year too, better to leave 1 year too soon than 1 year too late and preserve your legacy. Personally, if I were Michigan, I would be going after Kyle Whittingham. He's a great short-term gap that can establish credibility. But that's a conversation for another day. Also would love your guys' take about Alabama and Oklahoma last night as well. Thoughts on that matchup with Indiana, but certainly let me know more about your take on today's game. The other things that I just floored me. I just never would have expected that the first half that we saw in College Station between Texas A&M and Miami. I knew both defenses were going to be excellent. There was no doubt about that. But I just did not necessarily expect it to be that difficult, even with the win that we wound up seeing. A very wild... nobody predicted a 10-3, right? So shout out to everybody who had the under, because you definitely cleared that free and clear. I did have my parlay between Alabama and Miami, so I'm appreciative of covering the spread, which they didn't even need to do because they were getting the points. Let's just see what else we got here. Heatherman deserves a raise. Keep at all costs. Yeah, look, Heatherman, he may or may not win the Broyles Award. I don't know whether they, I honestly don't know whether they finished the voting before the postseason begins or not. But there's no doubt in my mind that Miami will pay him what he needs to stay. The question really to me is, does he have other aspirations? Does he want to go to the NFL if the right opportunity came? Because he clearly, after today on a national stage against Texas A&M, against that, that offense, those receivers, how shut down it was, and the adjustments he made as well, and just those stands that the bend or break moments were able to survive for the Canes. If people didn't know about Corey Heatherman, they definitely do now. And that's not going to be just like trying to keep him from going to another CFB team. It's definitely going to be a question of what are his aspirations if the NFL comes calling. And that's something that honestly we're just not going to know for a few weeks, because yes, there will be, that Black Monday after the regular season is over, but there's always a trickle down through the playoffs. So, Corey Heatherman, you don't know. Like Miami might try to extend him, and it still might not matter, even if he signs a college extension. If late January or February, an NFL team wanted him, but again, I have literally no idea what his aspirations are. I thought Bama game last night and the game today were nothing of what I expected. Yeah, I did see one post about that the games were reversed. I thought the first half of last night's game was the Ass Bowl, but then it became a very exciting, interesting game as Alabama came back and Oklahoma choked away that massive opportunity. Well, this game, of course, was close and tight the entire way. But it turned into a very, you can point out that some of these games maybe had moments where the play itself wasn't really good or some questionable calls, but the games were really entertaining to me and exciting, and it's easier for me to say that because of Miami actually winning, because I doubt I'd be on here talking about that game and giving A&M flowers and if the Canes had lost, because why would I want to do that? I would probably be drinking heavily. We have a lot of retention to do with the staff and roster. We are losing some. Everybody loses people every year. It's just the way it is. I'm not personally worried that we lost a few players. It's nothing personal against them, but the wide receiver room in the Canes with the recruits that are coming in is deep potential. I'm going to get Lex on here in a second, so let me do that if you're familiar. Give me 1 second, everybody. We want to get Lex on with us, who is coming out of that game right now. All right, hopefully we'll get Lex from the Miami Flow channel and Miami Mayhem, who's coming out of the game. He's trying to connect with us. Just sent him the link, so hopefully we'll have him. Staff is my worry, yeah. But at this point, I think you have to give Mario credit for retooling the staff as necessary, and better to have to replace people on your team than fire them because they're not good enough. I have not answered already what quarterback we most likely wind up with. I don't think we really know fully everyone who's going to be in the portal, and I don't think anybody on Canes World is going to be completely unanimous on there. I know there's a lot of people who are really hopeful that somebody like CJ Bailey might get in, and I'm not against him. I'm just not in favor of him. I think there's several players I'd like to get first. If Sam Levitt actually for sure was going to be healthy enough by summer camp, for sure, and that injury is very problematic. It can resolve itself a little bit sooner and can take a while and sometimes can be re-aggravated. He would be the person that's on my list. If Sorsby was not already sent to Texas Tech, that's who I would like next, but I don't think that's likely to happen. Rocco Beck entered the portal today. I know that there are people who think he's a good fit as well, and some that are not as in favor of him. So I think we have to wait and see who's fully available to Miami, and not just in the portal itself, but with a destination already in mind, specifically like Sorsby with Texas Tech as one of those examples. In terms of who my top player and what position other than quarterback, I like the Michigan State wide receiver. And let's get Lex in here as soon as I see his image pop up. Lex, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. We got a 10-mile walk to our car. We're here in Texas. We just finished. We got a chance to meet a couple of the coaches, some of the, hang out. They're all, you had a big cheering crowd for them while they're getting to the bus. So we did. Yeah, bro, this what a feeling. I don't know if you talked about this yet, but in that fourth quarter, they just 3-0. We did not have the feeling, and we held them to a field goal, which is great.
Hey, Lex, you're breaking up a little bit. Why don't you keep the audio on and turn your camera off and see if that works a little bit better with your signal?
That worked earlier when we did the pregame show with AO. So
Yes,
tell me if
it
that works
sounds
better for you.
Yeah, you're definitely sounding better. So, what were you saying about after you got to meet up with players, or we haven't obviously talked to anybody who was there.
Yeah,
So,
bro, there was a
give us anything you wanted to say.
big gathering. A couple minutes talk with Mirabal, D. Lou, JT. Got to meet him. He talked with Francis for a minute, and it was just like, bro, a different look to these players. Have a good game. Thank you. Look, a different feel. I mean, you just saw. We haven't seen this type of stuff in 20 years, and to see this in person. I'll give you a couple of notes. I would say maybe 5,000 people, 1,000 Miami fans at the most. College, the they've ever been. Their hospitality is top notch. None of that fans. They treat you real good. Stadium is probably one of the most fantastic experiences that I'd ever had in college. And to come out with a win. And we're walking, and you got all these saying, great win, good job. You guys earned it. No yelling, no fighting. It's
Yeah, look, they've always had a reputation for being classy. I did not go to the Miami at A&M game a few years back. I think that was in Mario's first year on the road there in College Station. But they definitely have had a good reputation. Was there anything that you like? What was the mood in the stadium heading into the fourth quarter for A&M fans?
they were rocking when they were down, when they were up, when they were throwing interceptions. The fans never stopped. These fans are a different animal, man. Much respect to A&M fans, Rock. This is a different level of football, and it's hard because you don't come to these type of stadiums a lot, and you hear why are these players going to the SEC and stuff like that, and they don't want to come to the ACC. Well, this is the reason why. I'm gonna tell you right now. If I was a potential player and I'm picking where to play, and A&M fits me, you can't say no to this. I would not want to play A&M at night if I was at the Miami.
I'm so
I don't
glad
care what
this
year.
was an 11 a.m. start because it was loud as hell.
If this game was we lost. We lost if it's a night game. We would have lost. So, but
how much was the win
was
to you? Well, like what did the win feel like to you in the stadium? We obviously could see it in some of the kicks, the field goals specifically for both sides. Carson had a few deep throws that seemed to be, maybe there's a receiver going someplace different than he thought, but there was also a couple where he, clearly didn't have the timing or the wind took it in a different direction. But describe it as best as you can sitting in the stadium and give us a perspective. Where were you sitting
in the stands?
Relative?
This win. So we were sitting in the end zone in the corner, section 300 on the aisle. Great view on the Miami side. Great view, great seats. You could see the entire game, so it was badass. The win itself, number one, guys. I'm here with my son. That's number one. The experience with the memories with my son is top notch. But to have this win in a stadium and this environment, it's top notch. It just shows. It shows the culture. It shows how the culture has been changing. And everybody wants to say, oh, Mario may not be the best coach. Is he a game day coach? Is he this type of coach? Maybe he's not allowed that shit, but he had his fucking team ready to play. And yes, right. I'm not going to kill Carson Beck today because the win, we were sitting and it was 40-mile-an-hour winds, guys. This is not no 10-mile-an-hour winds. It's 40. Field goal posts, while they're kicking, you can see them from the side were shaking like crazy. They were moving, literally. Field goal posts were moving. So, we get to play in a dome next week. So, but you know what? You made enough plays to win. You don't have to win pretty. You don't have to win by 100. All you got to do is win by a point to move on. So,
absolutely,
it was an emotional win.
We are definitely no longer in the we are not in the beauty pageant zone anymore. We don't have to impress Notre Dame's fans to justify anything, right? We don't have to justify a presence. None of these teams do. None of them have to justify anything. All you need to do is win in advance, right? these are the top 10 teams, give or take. Some debate, but the top 10 teams, top 12 teams in college football, all you need to do is freaking win your damn game. 1 point, 30 points, doesn't freaking matter. There's no style points. There's just win in advance.
Well, question for you, Rock. And I'll give you my opinion, but what do you think about our tackling this game?
Well, I mean, Miami's defense has been swarming, and there's multiple players, but Miami still has had a problem all season long with, missed tackles. They just have. The thing that's helped them is that because the defense has been swarming, somebody else has been there to pick up the slack. I was hoping that Keontae Scott would be back at 80%, but he looked solid as hell. I don't know what percent he was at, but he looked like the Keontae Scott I remember stepping off the field before his injury. But there was definitely some missed tackles again. I haven't watched it back yet because I was too busy just dealing with the moment of the game, and I'm sure I will watch it back to see what it was. But it seemed like there was still a problem with missed tackles. But then again, I'm going to give some of that respect over to Texas A&M quarterback, because that's really where it was happening, right? It was really on trying to contain Marcel Reed along the lines. But even with that, here's the thing. It felt to me in the game, in the moment, it felt to me, he only has 27 yards, right? But that's a rushing, but that's kind of not accurate, right? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know the NFL and the college do it differently, but there were 7 sacks for the Canes too, right? And I believe in college that you lose rushing yards for sacks, but I could be wrong. That could be the NFL. But it's either way, he felt like he had more than 27 yards in the game, right?
Well, it was funny because on the big screen, they put Texas A&M defense. 3 sacks, only giving up 3 points currently, like it was in the middle of the fourth quarter. And we all started looking at the stats for Miami on ESPN, and we're like, hold on a second. Miami got 5 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss, and we're up.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go, man. Dallas.
So, yeah, bro. So I know it was a nail biter, guys. But, yeah, man, so it was kind of crazy because we're all yelling like, hold on a second. And then you guys know the famous Rasta. I'm here with Rasta. We came to the game together.
Oh, wow.
With my son, another friend. And I think Rasta was going to choke out a ref because Bain was getting thrown. I was telling him how you were pissed off about the holding calls.
Yeah, that's terrible, bro.
Yeah, he was mad, bro. I thought I never seen Rasta look like that. I thought he was going to kill him. But, yeah, we're still having the issues where there's no way that whole game with, what was it, 0 or 1 holding call?
Have a great night, fellas.
Yeah, there were not a lot of penalties in the game overall that weren't just like
y'all take care.
That weren't intentional. I guess that's the question. The thing I was the most pleasantly surprised with, Lex, because I was worried about it the most, was that the Miami offense did not actually get a lot of, if any, pre-snap penalties for, despite the sound from the crowd. Were you impressed by that?
Yes, it looks like they did a very good job of communication. I know we took 1 delay game with Beck, which I think was a great call. Don't use the timeout.
I agree. It was like a third. It was already 3rd and 8 at that point, right? And they were probably the way Texas A&M's 3rd down defense, which was as advertised, was doing 3rd and 13, 3rd and 8, were basically probably the same likelihood of converting.
Well, I also think it's don't make the mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And if you get 1 penalty here, you take the penalty. Don't rush anything. We did a great job of that. I mean, Mario had this team ready to play. Who would have said, like, I took the under on the points. Who would have said this game would have been 0-0 at halftime, 10-3 final score? Nobody.
Nobody would have. Yeah, that was definitely surprising that they were able to keep things contained. Of course, I'm not surprised that nobody calls penalties on holding Ruben Bain. It doesn't seem to matter whether you have an ACC crew. I don't remember what it was, Big 12 or Big 10 or American Conference, but some things stay the same. But they did. It wasn't like it was an unbalanced situation on the penalties. There was probably a couple of plays that honestly should have gone against the Canes that were not called. So, we did get saved on that throwdown out of bounds. He was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got saved on that one, but man, Rock, I have to step out now. and it's gonna get loud.
Thanks for
here,
calling in.
so,
Appreciate getting your perspective of it and hearing what was going on there. Hope you and your son have safe
I know
travels
you're
home.
a college football express show. Probably the best stadium I've ever been to in my life. I can't wait to do it again. So
Awesome. We'll appreciate you jumping on, Lex.
Appreciate you, my man. You have a good one,
Rock.
Rock.
You guys get home safe.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, be good. All right, I'm going to probably wrap it up here in a second. If you're watching over on X, consider coming over to College Football Express and giving us a like and maybe subscribe. Again, we cover national college football here, but we're focusing in on the Canes' victory right now as an instant reaction. Flo and I will be back on Monday, and I think the general will probably be with us with Christmas Eve, our normal Wednesday show. We're probably going to do something either Monday or Tuesday. There could be some random stuff beyond that. If you're in the chat now or watching on demand, please hit the like button and give us a subscribe as you try to grow the channel. And other than that, man, hopefully these last two games are a little bit better than people expect. Right now in the Ole Miss game as we wrap up, Ole Miss is up 17-3 as they get the ball back as Tulane punts with about 2 minutes left to go in the second quarter. That game will be followed by JMU and Oregon. At a minimum, go follow a couple of the JMU accounts who have been awesome on social media. They're entertaining. Hopefully the game is half as entertaining as some of their social media accounts have been. But again, the wrap up here as we wrap up our live reaction. Canes go into College Station in a slugfest, a defensive battle, come away with a 10-3 victory with a late touchdown pass from Carson Beck to Malachi Toney, who had fumbled previously, helping to enable a tying field goal under rough wind conditions. And then Texas A&M marches down the field with under a minute and 30 or so of time left in the game, gets down to the 4 or 5 yard line, and ultimately an end zone interception saves the game. Bryce Fitzgerald, true freshman, saves the game with a late interception. The Canes emerge victorious, setting up the rematch from the Fiesta Bowl in 2002 with Ohio State in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. Again, if you happen to be a Canes fan and you ordered tickets through the Hurricanes, you should have received a ticket update if you weren't aware of it already. Again, please, thanks for joining us for this live reaction. We'll be back for sure Monday or Tuesday. Just check the channel, hit subscribe, hit your notifications so you know when we'll be back on. We'll talk about this game in a lot more detail, watching tape with Flo's perspective and the Generals, and start getting ready for the New Year's Eve battle in the Cotton Bowl between Ohio State and Miami. Until then, hope you all have a good rest of your football Saturday.